In the vast and wild expanse of Montana, there is a kind of silence unlike any other. Here, among mist-covered mountains and red sand valleys, hundreds of towns once stood, bustling, filled with laughter, the sound of miners' boots, and the hum of locomotives. Now, all that remains are ruins, weathered wood, and stories that linger in the air. Big Sky Country was once famous for its mines, gold and silver that changed lives. But when the earth stopped giving, people left, abandoning towns that slowly froze in time. So among all this silence, which towns still hold a breath of the past? Here are 15 ghost towns in Montana. First, we have a town called Granite. Its name refers to two main things: a historic ghost town and a well-known granite product brand. True to its name, the town once stood proud atop Montana's largest silver mine. Because of its prominence, it was even nicknamed the Silver Queen. In the late 1800s, Granite pulsed with life, day and night. Miners came from everywhere. Houses were built rapidly along steep hillsides, and oil lamps lit up wooden cabins lined in the snow. But that golden era didn't last long. When silver prices crashed and the mine shut down, hundreds of families moved away. Today, only stone buildings and rusted machinery remain, standing in the morning fog. When the wind brushes through the empty walls, it almost feels like the sound of mining hammers still echoes from the past. Its name lives on, not only as a preserved state park, but also as a known granite tile or panel product under the brand Granito. Meanwhile, among the hills of Meagher County lies Castletown, once known as a golden town full of dreams. But now, old wooden buildings lean to one side, some overtaken by brush, their signs barely legible. Though quiet, the air there still feels warm with the memory of life that once was. Many visit just to feel the traces of those days, when dreams still echoed in every step along the dusty streets. In its prime, the town's roads were filled with miners, merchants, and wanderers. There were saloons with piano music, simple hotels, and grocery stores that were never empty. But when resources ran dry, everything vanished just as quickly. Unlike the previous two towns born from mining, this one rose thanks to railroad transportation. Yes, Ingomar was once a key point along the Northern Railway line, where passengers and traders would stop before continuing their journey. But when a series of development policies led to the route's closure, the town slowly withered, killed by the very thing that once gave it life. Today, only one building remains active: the Jersey Lilly Bar, a legendary icon that still holds the scent of history and aged bourbon. Inside, the walls are lined with black and white photos, faces from a distant era. Yes, with wild deer roaming nearby, Ingomar is one of those ghost towns that hasn't been completely forgotten. As the evening sun reflects off the bar's glass windows, it feels as if shadows of the past are still dancing on the cracked wooden tables. Next, we have a town that's a little different in form and feel. Small, quiet, but photogenic. That's Maudlow. Like the previous town, this place was once a stop on the Montana Railway, named after Maud Harlow, the wife of the railway company's president. Maudlow isn't officially a town, but rather an unincorporated community in northern Gallatin County. Still, it once had a school, a church, and a few family homes. But when the railway stopped operating, everything slowly froze in time. Today, the old school building still stands, complete with playground and sports facilities, flanked by gaping windows and cracked wooden panels worn down by the years. At sunset, orange light slips through the gaps in the walls, casting shadows that dance across the dusty floor. Because of its unique atmosphere, different from most ghost towns, photographers often come here not to uncover new stories, but to capture a kind of beautiful loneliness a quiet only Montana seems to possess. Now let's head to the legendary Missouri River. On one of its banks once stood a town that used to be a key junction between rail and river. Freight ships would dock at the wooden pier, while steam locomotives chugged in the distance. Few remember that this town was called Lombard. Why? Because the town is now nothing more than a memory, a kind of memory rarely recalled. All that remains is an old railway bridge stretching over the water, its rust glowing orange beneath the evening sky. Not many visit this place, maybe because its name is no longer told, or because it was never preserved. But for those who've stood beneath this bridge, Lombard feels like a quiet monument to a civilization that once passed through and vanished without a trace. If the previous towns have mostly faded from everything, this one found its own unique way to be remembered as a ghost town. Not many places can claim a story quite like Ismay. In 1993, this tiny town briefly changed its name to Joe in honor of football legend Joe Montana. The idea was simple, a small way to attract some attention from the world. But once the excitement faded, the town returned to what it had always been, quiet, nearly empty, with only a few old homes standing in the middle of a vast open plain. But what about this town? If Ismay once had a moment of fame before sinking into silence, then Vananda is a story of rapid tragedy brought on by natural disaster. The town's decline began in the 1920s with dry weather and drought, which crushed the agricultural prospects that had originally drawn settlers in. The closure of the local bank in 1923 was a heavy blow, and the eventual shutdown of the railroad in the 1980s marked the end of Vananda's life. Now, only the remains of a hotel and train tracks covered in wild grass are left, silent witnesses to its past. When the wind blows, you can hear the sound of metal scraping against metal, like the voice of a town refusing to be forgotten. Still in eastern Montana, the next town is Westmore. It stands as a symbol of a town that died due to a small change, the redirection of the highway. This shift led to the post office closing in 1940 and the population dropping by 1959. At first glance, the town almost looks like it was just abandoned yesterday. Brick houses still stand tall, some windows remain intact, but no footsteps echo along the main street anymore. Wild grass has overtaken parts of the town, and the building walls are covered in the shadows of time. Next is a town called Mildred, once kept alive by farming and the railway. The town even served as a stop on the historic Yellowstone Trail, a route used to bring in tourists and trade. But when that route was replaced by the modern US Highway 12, Mildred began to lose its pulse. Unlike many other towns, however, Mildred's train station still stands proudly. This classic wooden building is often used as a location for photo shoots and documentaries. Inside, the smell of old wood and dust blends into a scent of pure nostalgia. If Mildred feels like it's waiting for passengers who will never arrive, then this town might be a little worse. Born out of the ambitious Milwaukee Road Railway project in 1910, Barber quickly became a thriving town. As the settlement expanded rapidly, a post office, stores, and a grand bank were established. A small wooden church, Grace Lutheran, also stood strong, its spiritual heart set against a wide blue sky. But the promise of Barber disappeared as quickly as the train that once gave it life. A land dispute with the railway company delivered a heavy blow, leading to the depot being relocated, leaving Barber behind. Over the years, drought and economic hardship wore down the town's spirit. Slowly, its people moved away, and its buildings began to fall apart. Today, most of Barber has vanished, swept away by the winds of the prairie. Only the small and steadfast Grace Lutheran Church remains, a stubborn, silent reminder of a town that refuses to be completely forgotten. Still, one thing is certain when it comes to ghost towns. Not all of them are truly dead. Take Zortman, nestled in the Little Rockies mountains. Some residents still remain. Around 30 to 50 people are estimated to live here today. They live alongside the past. Abandoned gold mines, hills riddled with old dig sites, and weathered buildings still standing thanks to sheer determination. Zortman once thrived during the gold boom, but mining operations shut down in 1949 when resources were redirected for World War II. All mining activity officially ended in 1951. Yes, Zortman is a town that's half alive, half ghost, and that's exactly what makes it so compelling. Now let's head near the Dakota border. Here lies a town called Carlyle, one that seems to have evaporated from the map. In the past, this small town was home to farmers and small traders, but its distance from any major routes left it isolated. Today, only a few foundation remnants and crumbling structures remain. Among the vast fields, Carlyle looks like a tiny speck from a time long forgotten. While other small towns slowly rebuild themselves, this place feels so far removed from the modern world, as if time stopped here longer than anywhere else. Like many abandoned mining towns, Hammond was also destined for silence. But its decline was slower, not because gold ran out, but due to an inevitable economic shift. It began with struggles in ranching and farming. Small businesses started closing one by one in the mid-20th century. As transportation modernized, the remaining residents sought work in bigger cities, leaving Hammond in quiet abandonment. Today, only ruins remain, whispering tales of a life that once was. Then there's a town called Square Butte. In many ways, its fate mirrors that of Hammond, though with a more interesting historical twist. The arrival of the Milwaukee Railroad in 1913 briefly sparked new hope, and the community, built at the base of a mountain with a large spring, grew rapidly for a time. But that prosperity didn't last long. As the railway era faded and agriculture became more industrialized, the population began to decline. One by one, stores and businesses shut down, leaving behind empty buildings as silent witnesses to the past. Of all the towns we've talked about, St. Marie's story is the most unique. It feels like a haunted relic from the Cold War. Built in the 1950s to support the strategically important Glasgow Air Force Base, the town once housed thousands of military personnel and their families. Modern housing rows stood neatly in place, complete with schools, churches, and recreation centers, a small oasis in the Montana prairie. But the glory didn't last. When the base closed in 1976, St. Marie's population vanished almost overnight. Solid infrastructure began to crumble, and hundreds of empty homes now seem frozen in time. Though a few residents still remain, St. Marie stands as a quiet reminder of an era that has ended. A post-apocalyptic landscape that reminds us how fragile civilization can be in the face of geopolitical change. In the end, Montana is more than just a land of mines and mountains. It is a place where time writes its own story in stone, wood, and dust. These ghost towns are witnesses to an age when people dared to dream too big, only to be defeated by nature, time, and fate. Now, they stand in silence, yet still speak through their shadows. Every wall, every bridge, every creaking door carries the same message. Nothing truly lasts except memory.